Good day, Ma'am Connie. I am Kanya Juripolia, and today I am here together with my group mates to talk about our case study, which is entitled Properties and Harmful Effects of the Ingredients in Safeguard Antibacterial Soap. Objectives. The aim of this case study is to identify the organic compounds that are present in Safeguard Antibacterial Soap. This case study report intends to investigate each of the ingredients found in Safeguard Antibacterial Soap and classify them according to their chemical properties, color, odor, structure, and classification of matter. Additionally, this study will also look into the possible hazards and risks of each ingredient towards life and the environment. Furthermore, this study will also investigate the leading-edge advantage of Safeguard Antibacterial Soap from other antibacterial soap. Statement of the problem. This case study will answer specific questions. First will be, what are the ingredients found in Safeguard Antibacterial Soap? What are the physical and chemical properties for each ingredient found in the antibacterial soap? Inclusion of classification of matter, structure, color, taste, odor, and solubility in water. Third, what is its competitive edge with other antibacterial soaps? And lastly, how can the ingredients found in Safeguard Antibacterial Soap pose a hazard to life and the environment? Hypothesis. This case study has three hypotheses. First is if an antibacterial soap contains triclosan as one of its active ingredients, then the antibacterial soap is effective in the prevention of bacterial infections in humans. Second, if an ingredient found in antibacterial soap is said to be an organic compound, then it has a functional group. Third, if an antibacterial soap contains organic compounds as one of their ingredients, then it has a hazard to the community and health. So, if you will be wondering who will be the beneficiaries of this case study, so me together with my group members plotted or listed on who might be the beneficiaries of this case study. And we have come to a conclusion that the consumers, the manufacturers, and the future researchers will benefit from this study. So the consumers can benefit from this study in a way that they can use our case study as a guide in determining or identifying the hazardous or harmful effects of the ingredients found in antibacterial soap. And for the manufacturers, they can also use this as a guide for improving their product and eliminating the risks and hazards that each ingredient that is found in their own composition of antibacterial soap. And lastly, the future researchers can also benefit from this study in a way that they can use this as a guide to conduct further research about the ingredients or components found in antibacterial soaps. The scope and limitation of our study focuses mainly on determining the properties and composition of Safeguard Antibacterial Soap. This study will also look into the possible hazards, risks, or threats that each ingredient brings towards life and the environment. This study will also look into the leading-edge advantage of Safeguard's antibacterial soap from other brands of antibacterial soap. This case study will only focus on Safeguard's antibacterial soap, and other brands of antibacterial soap will not be conducted in this case study. The study will also focus on the Filipino consumers or the Filipino market, and outside the Philippines will not be conducted in this study. Lastly, this study is conducted on the first semester of the academic year 2021 to 2022. On the next slides, we will now be talking about our theory, our results and discussions, and the summary of our findings, the conclusions, and recommendations of this case study. So to start off, antimicrobial compounds are included in antibacterial soap. So these substances combat or fight against bacteria and fungi, which are microscopic organisms that can cause everything from skin infections to pneumonia to athlete's foot. So antibacterial soaps are made by a variety of companies, each with its unique variation, and P&G or Procter & Gamble is one of the most promising producers who developed their own antibacterial soap, which is Safeguard Antibacterial Soap.
Safeguard soap is an antibacterial and deodorant soap that is indicated for normal skin types. It is a trusted and renowned Procter & Gamble product and has been popular in the United States and many other nations for decades, according to the Food and Drug Administration. Safeguard Antibacterial Soap is made up of a variety of ingredients, ranging from organic molecules to the most basic components.
The components in safeguard antibacterial soaps are separated into two categories. Triclosan is the active component in the said soap, and the inactive ingredients can be seen on your screen. Safeguard antibacterial soap contains a lot of organic compounds in its composition. Triclosan, which is the active ingredient in Safeguard antibacterial soap, is an organic compound in which it possesses adverse effects towards life and in the environment. Table 1 presents the product name and its composition, specifically its active and inactive ingredients. The first column of the table shows the name of the product in which this case study is centered on, the Safeguard antibacterial soap. As shown in column 2, it appears that the active ingredient in the said product is triclosan. The third column shows water, sodium lauryl sulfate, sodium laureth sulfate, luramide DEA, glycol desaturate, cocamidopropyl betaine, sodium sulfate, guar hydroxypropyl trimonium chloride, citric acid, DMD hydroquinone, and tetrasodium EDTA as the inactive ingredients present in the product.
Table 2 consists of 3 columns, which presents the chemical name, other name or names, and the chemical structural formula of each of the ingredients of Safeguard antibacterial soap. The first column shows the chemical name of each of the components of the soap. The second column lists the compounds, other name or names, which are either their common or IUPAC name or both. Lastly, the third column displays the structural formula of the chemical components.
Table 3 shows the physical and chemical properties of the chemical components of Safeguard antibacterial soap. The first column lists the components of the soap, the second presents their physical properties in terms of appearance and odor, and finally, the third column identifies their chemical properties by determining their solubility or miscibility in water. The solubility and or miscibility in water are indicated through checks, X's, and dashes. Check means that a component is soluble or miscible, and X indicates insolubility or immiscibility.
Table 4 displayed the state of matter and the functional group of organic compound ingredients. The first column lists the compound chemical found in the Safeguard antibacterial soap. The second column identifies their state of matter, and the third column lay out as what functional group they belong to. Table 5 display the health and environmental danger that each component brings. Their health danger are identified as whether they are irritant, inhalation, or ingestion hazard. Likewise, their environmental danger are identified whether they brings danger to water, land, or air. The check mark signs in the table indicates that the component is dangerous, and X marks place if it's not. And the dash means that there's no information found.
Table 6 shows the benefits of Safeguard and its direct competitors, Vaseline, Green Cross, and Bioderm. The aforementioned brands are all antibacterial soaps. The brands are compared by the benefits they offer aside from having antibacterial properties. As seen on the table, all soap brands have germ-free skin properties. In terms of 24-hour protection, anti-prickly heat, and preventing and removing body odor, only Safeguard possesses these qualities. Lastly, as for everyday usage, Safeguard and Vaseline are safe for the skin.
Triclosan is an ingredient that is added in order to prevent or reduce bacterial contamination. Although it may seem wondrous, little do we know that this organic compound can either prevent us from these bacterial infections or it can also pose a great threat towards us and to the community.
Triclosan is a very dangerous compound since it aids in decreasing thyroid hormones in our body. In short, triclosan and endocrine disruptors is also prone to cancer cells to grow, especially in breast cancer. And lastly, triclosan is highly toxic, different types of algae, ketones, organisms for a complex aquatic ecosystem.
Yes, triclosan might be harmful, but they are only harmful in larger concentration or at high doses. Studies have confirmed that at 0.3% levels are considered safe, while above the level is already harmful to our health and to the environment.
Safeguard antibacterial soap does not only contain triclosan, but it also contains different inactive ingredients that help balance each of the components present in Safeguard's antibacterial soap. Inactive ingredients are ingredients that provide support for active ingredients. Safeguard antibacterial soap contain a number of inactive ingredients such as water, sodium lauryl sulfate, sodium lauryl sulfate, loramide DEA, glycol distearate, coca-midopropylbetaine, sodium sulfate, fragrance, guar hydroxypropyl trinomial chloride, citric acid, DMDM hydantoin, tetrasodium EDTA, and colorings such as red 4 and yellow 5.
Water, which is a universal solvent, is an inorganic compound that does not pose any risk toward life and the environment. Sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium laureth sulfate's hazards to life is very mild since it only causes eye, lung, and skin irritation. But these two compounds have high toxicity to aquatic animals and can cause long-term effects in aquatic ecosystems. Sodium sulfate, on the other hand, possesses no to low toxicity.
Loramide DEA, glycol distearate, coca-midopropylbetaine, guar hydroxypropyl triammonium chloride, citric acid, DMDM hydantoin, and tetrasodium EDTA poses mild to severe irritations in the eyes, lungs, and skins. Coca-midopropylbetaine, loramide DEA, and tetrasodium EDTA are examples of organic compounds that pose a threat or hazard towards the environment. Both of these compounds are environmental toxins that may cause adverse effects to our ecosystem, especially to aquatic ecosystems. DMDM hydantoin is also an organic compound that releases formaldehyde. It is an air pollutant and it is carcinogenic to animals. Lastly, citric acid is an organic compound that contains a carbonyl group, specifically a carboxylic acid. Citric acid is a corrosive agent that can burn through plants or seeds of the plant.
The ingredients found in Safeguard's antibacterial soap might pose mild to severe hazards and risks to life and the environment, but that does not mean that it is unsafe to use. For each compound that is present in the composition of Safeguard's antibacterial soap balances one another. This means that dangerous and active ingredients, which is triclosan, is balanced out and supported by the inactive ingredients in order to reduce its level of toxicity or level of harmfulness.
It also poses to be one of the best in fighting away germs and infections in our skin. Safeguard has a leading edge from other competitors because Safeguard antibacterial soap is a lot cheaper and poses to no to minimal risk, and most importantly, Safeguard antibacterial and antifungal soap facilitate protection of user after wash by slowly down the return of germs, bacteria, and fungi.
Safeguard is Philippines' #1 germ protection soap and the only soap recommended by the Philippine Association of Medical Technologists or PAMET. Lastly, Safeguard's antibacterial soaps are one of the few soaps that offer germ shield protection.
We live in an antimicrobial saturated world that relies solely on chemicals to counter microbial diseases. The paradox is that the more chemicals we use, the more antimicrobial variants appear. Triclosan, an active ingredient found in Safeguard antibacterial soap, exploits a hazard to both humans and the environment. This is why Safeguard antibacterial soap, as well as other antibacterial soaps, should be used responsibly. Safeguard has been promising to fight microbial diseases and protect our families from bacteria. Safeguard soap has an edge over other antibacterial soaps because not only that it has antibacterial properties, but it also provides 24-hour protection, has anti-prickly heat properties, removes and prevents body odor, and it is designed for everyday use. It is highly commercialized in the market, and because of this, it has been one of the top soap choices in the Philippines for years.